let's begin. Kum Lenin, Ablat Gemara. We are up to Masechta Rosh Hashana Daf Chof Amud Aleph, and we are talking about being a Mekadesh the Chadoshim, and so on. So the last thing we learned was that the other, which is before Nisan, we had different opinions. The others, whether they were full months, 30-day months, 29-day months, or the first month other was a 30-day month, and the second one, the first month of other is the extra one, is the Ibur. And the second month of other is only 29 days. And the last thing we learned was that they sent to Marukva that the other immediately before Nisan is always 29 days. Over 29 days. So we started discussing, so why are you Mechal Shabbos for the month of Nisan, which means we allow you to walk Chum Shabbos, if we know that it's always 29 days. So the first version of Gemara answered is because there's a mitzvah, even though we know when Rosh Chodesh is, we need to hear it from the witnesses because the mitzvah of the Kaddish al pi ariyah. The other version is we use that as a raya, that since there's a mitzvah to Mekadesh al pi ariyah, so therefore they're mechalel in order to be able to mechalel Shabbos. But if you're going to say that sometimes it's 29, sometimes it's 30, so why be mechalel Shabbos? Delay it until the 30th day, and you won't have to be mechalel Shabbos. Gemara said you're right. We're talking about a case where the 31st day was Rosh Chodesh. The third day was Friday. So you have no choice but to be Mekadesh Shabbos. So therefore, we allow the witnesses to come in. We're up to here, Moshe ben Kahani, about 10 lines on the top of the page. Another question. So you're telling me that other prior to this is always 29 days. Moshe ben Kahani, Kishar Mekadesh, Kishar Migdash Kayim, the times of the base of Migdash, Mechalin, Af al Kulan, any month of the year, regardless which month it is, even though there were no Yom Tov there, we would still be Mechal, we would still go ahead and we would allow them to go to Chum Shabbos. And why is that? Because of the takana of the carbon. We need to make, Rosh Chodesh has a special carbon, so we want to make sure that we bring that special carbon that is supposed to be on Rosh Chodesh. Since when it comes to all the other months, it doesn't use the reason of simple. Just say every month we need to know exactly when the Chodesh is, because even though we know it's a chasar and mulligs matter, because we need to make Kaddish based on Eidim. It doesn't say that. It said because of the Kabbanis. So I can assume that Nisan v'Tishrei Nami, Lamishun the mitzvah of Kaddish Alariya. That mitzvah and Tishrei, that Nisan and Tishrei, why do we allow the Mechal Shabbos? Not because we want the Eidim to become a Kaddish period, but rather for the carbon. So, if you tell me the reason is we just don't know which Rosh Chodesh is, we need to know because we have to bring the correct carbon, the carbon musaf for Rosh Chodesh. Okay, therefore we need to bring witnesses as well. If you can tell me that every month, sometimes we don't know, 29, 30, so we need witnesses to come to determine what day the Chodesh is in order for the carbon. If you tell me that the month of others always 29 days, so there's no question that the 30th day is Chodesh Nisan, and the only reason why we allow the Eidim to Mechalel Shabbos is in order to determine when is Chodesh Nisan, to know which carbon it is. So why in the month of Chodesh Nisan do we allow the Eidim to Mechalel Shabbos? We know which day the Chodesh is. And don't tell me the reason is because we mitzvah Kasher. Then every month mitzvah Kaddish Aliyah. Why do we have to give another reason altogether about a carbon? To Yufta, this repudiates this idea that other always has to be 29 days. Now remember, this is all talking about pre-calendar. Today we have a calendar, obviously everything is fixed and we know exactly that other is always chassav. He also, Ula came along, even though we learned about it previously, that since Ezra, was always 29 days. That was in the times of the base making and so on. But we're going to learn a few instances in the Gemara where El was actually more than 29 days. It was 30 days. Ki also Ula, when Ula came, Omar, he said, I want you to know that Hebrew El. In Israel, they decided to make El 30 days. Now, why would you make El 30 days? Why suddenly? Because Rosh Hashana.
Sorry to interrupt.
We don't want...
When we say Ki also Ula, was that when he came back to Bavel or when he went to Eretz Yisrael?
When he came back to Bavel.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Omar Ula said, Yadi Chavrim Babylon. Do my Babylonian friends have any idea? My Tivusa Avdin Badai. What we did for them for their benefit. My Tivusa, what benefit did they? How did they benefit the people of Babylon by making 30 days? So we have two possible reasons. Ula Omar. Ula says the reason is because we're scared if Yom Tov falls out on Friday or on Sunday, because they didn't have any way of preserving their vegetables. We're worried simply that the vegetables are going to wither. You're going to pick it before Yom Tov. So when, let's say on Thursday, by the time Shabbat comes around, they might wither, and therefore we want the vegetables to be fresh. That's why. He said, no, Mishum Messiah. We are worried if Yom Kippur falls on a Sunday or on a Friday, and somebody passes away, you're going to have to hold the body there for 2 days. My benayo, what's the 2 reasons? Ike benayo, if Yom Kippur shecholi is Yom Kippur falls on a Sunday. On a Sunday. We're worried about the dead. We're worried. Avrinan will make Elul next day so that Yom Kippur falls on a Monday. But the one who says Mishum Yirakaya, the one who says because of Yarkaya, because of vegetables. So therefore, but on Sunday you can't eat it. Yom Kippur. When you need these vegetables, Lord, Sunday night. Lord, Sunday night, he'll go ahead and pick fresh vegetables. It'll be even fresher. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. Just because you have 2 different opinions, but each one still has to anticipate or be concerned about the other person's opinion as well. So the one is a good problem is vegetable. What about a corpse? He's not worried about it. Even let's say Sunday is Yom Kippur, we should still have to add a day to El because if Rosh Hashana passes away on a Friday, the body will be held for 2 days. The difference between the 2 is if Yom Tov has Samach l'Shabbos. What happens? Yom Tov falls out either whether before Shabbos or after Shabbos. So you have to add a day because we want fresh vegetables. One says because of the dead, we're not worried because on Yom Tov there is an option how to bury on Yom Tov. We had no Rebbeah. The first day Yom Tov with the Goyim. Says the Gemara, fine. But even the one who says we're worried about the dead, why aren't they worried about the vegetables? Why doesn't he add a day? But also because of the vegetable, that's good enough reason. So okay, the dead is taken care of because the first day Yom Tov you can have Goyim doing it. But what about having fresh vegetables? So Gemara says, there's a way to restore the freshness of the vegetable by putting it in warm water. And if you put it in warm water, it refreshes the vegetable. So we don't have to change the calendar just for that reason alone. Says the Gemara, if that's what's going on, why is Ula saying that it's a favor to the people of Bavel about the vegetables? It's also a favor to the people of Israel. They also need fresh vegetables. Why is it that it only benefits Bavel? I feel Dunami, even for them as well. So we answer Lididon Chavilon Alma in Iraq, in Bavel, it's flat, low-lying land, and it's very, very hot. So the vegetables don't really stay fresh for too long. But in Israel, you're surrounded by mountains. It is not that hot. And therefore, vegetables can stay fresh for 2 days. Says the Gemara, so let me ask you a question. Aini, you're saying now that they would add a day to El when it was necessary. They were ma'aber the Chodesh when it was necessary. Aini, it's not so. We know that you're not supposed to tamper with the Chodesh. It's one thing, a leap year, we tamper with it, we add a leap year month in case of necessity, but we don't find that by months, we add a day because of necessity. But Rabbi Bashmul said, I would have thought, just like you add a month for leap year when you need, so to buy a month, you add a day if you need it. Therefore comes to say, as soon as you see the new moon, I don't care if it suits you, if it's fit for purpose, it's not fit for purpose. You always have to follow what you saw. So it's clear you cannot add a day. It's a kasha on what Ula is telling us that happened in Israel. So Rava says, like kasha, it's not a kasha. Kan le'abroi, kan le'kacha. There's a difference of being ma'aber. To add a day, in other words, they saw the new moon, but the Bedin says, we don't want to hear the testimony yet. We need to add a day. That we will do, ma'aber. But mekadesh, they did not see the new moon yet, but we want, on the 30th day, but we'll say, come into the Bedin as if, make up a story, you saw the new moon, and we will different make it chodesh. We'll make this month a 29-day month, and we'll make it chodesh. That is not true. You didn't see the moon, and yet we tell you to say you did see the moon. That we don't do. And this is how you're supposed to read the Braisa. I would have thought, Kishem Shema Abrin is Shani add a month. The Esach you also add a date to the month of Tzedek when it's necessary, like Moshe Yom Tov falls out on Friday or on Sunday, or Yom Kippur falls out on Friday, Sunday. Kach, so too, Mekachin is a so too, we would have thought that we could take off for the month, make it a 29-day month, and tell the aid, come into the Bez and tell us you saw the new moon. It's an amazing thing. Tell us you saw the new moon, even though you didn't, so that we can go ahead and make it a Chodesh. Because we'll learn later, even you deliberately, you know that it's not a Chodesh, the Bez has the power to go ahead and to establish a such Chodesh. Is Litzayder, I would have thought they can also be Mekadosh the month Litzayder and turn it into a 29-day month and say that you saw the moon. Only if you saw it. So therefore, not a question. In Bava, what do? They just added a day. Adding that you can. Actually said, we used to scare the Eidim ala Chodesh. We used to scare the Eidim when it comes to the into the month. If they did see it, we tell them, don't you dare come into the bezin. We're shutting our doors. We don't want you, because we need an extra day for this month. But the you don't scare the Eidim on a month, no, a 29-day month, and they did not see the new moon. Tell them, hey, you know what? Time. Go ahead. Let's tell us you saw it so we can make it. Says the Gemara, Aini, that isn't correct what you just said. Because didn't Rabbi Yehuda send to Rabbi Ami, have a yoidin, you should know. Should call Yamav, should Rabbi Yechanan, all the days of Yechanan, Hayamalam Dainu. This is what he told us. Ma'aymin ala Eidim ala Chodesh shaloini bezman lekatchay afa pisharu. Yoim Shedeinu. Rabbi Yechanan clearly told us that he would tell the Eidim to say, even though they didn't see it, say that you did see it. Not like a Shmuel Levi said that we don't tell the Eidim to make up a story. You know, it should be Mekadosh the Chodesh. No, Rabbi Yechanan said we did. It's not a problem. This is talking about in the month of Nisan Tishrei. Then, because of the reason we just said before, Yom Tov, Yom Kippur, yes. Rabbi Yechanan is right. We would make up and say that even though you didn't see it, we want you to go ahead and say that you did see it. But the rest of the months of the year, we would never tell the Eidim, if you didn't see the new moon, tell us you did see the new moon.
Can I ask?
Happen. So Rashi really asks, why would you? Sorry,
how do you get an aid who hasn't come? An aid comes because he's seen the moon. An aid doesn't come because he hasn't seen the moon. How do they get someone to come?
You could go in the street to Yerushalayim, pick up any two people and say, come here today and tell us you saw the new moon. You can pick up anybody. You can't call them an aid because they didn't see it.
That's right.
Yeah, so this is fictitious. Fabrication, the whole thing.
Yep.
Now, so Rashi already asks, the rest of the months of the year, why would you even contemplate, making it a 29-day month and telling the aid to lie? I mean, what's the point? The whole thing about Nisan and Tisha when the Yom Tovim are? So Rashi says no, because we have a cheshbon. We know that the maximum number of months that can be 30 days is 8 months, and the minimum is 4 months. What happens? You already had 8 months of 30 days. It's the 9th month now, and nobody saw the new moon. That means we'll have to treat again like a 30-day month. That means it'll be 9 months of the year. It's a completely shift the calendar out of whack. So then you can tell the Eidim, or you would think you can tell the Eidim, do me a favor, say you saw the new moon so we can keep it within the cheshbon that you only have 8 months of 30 days. Come on, you don't. Rav gives another answer. He says, this is what Rabbi Shmuel said. This is what Rabbi Shmuel said, that you're not mekadosh the chodesh. In other words, we will add a day to the month and tell Eidim don't say anything, but we would not tell Eidim to make up a story they saw a new moon when they didn't. That only follows the Achedim. That follows the Achedim, who say that we learned them before already. They say that there's even the times of Eidei Riyah, there was clear cut. 1 month Malay, 1 month Chassid, nothing to talk about. It never deviated. That's the system that we had. And because the new moon is always 29 and a half days and a little bit. So therefore, 1 month we had 29, the next month we had 30, and 1 month 29 and 30, and so on. To straighten each other out. If this year is on Monday, about next year will be on a Friday. It's never. It's always 4 days. If it's on a Wednesday, next time it'll be on a Shabbos. It's always 4 days apart. regardless. And the Moishe Bedes, we had to have an extra month other. And remember, month other is 29 days. So it gives us one extra day, moves out the week. It's Chamisha. It's 5 days apart. So therefore, so according to him, he said, you're not allowed to. That's what they were saying. You're not allowed to say you saw the new moon when you didn't see the new moon. Rav Dimi Menadoi, Master Ibcha. Rav Dimi Menadoi learned exactly the other way around. He says, Ma'aymin, not like a Shumalevi, he says exactly that. Ma'aymin ala Eidim, when do we scare the Eidim? Ala Chaydish, Loini, the Bismano, Lekatra. They say, look, that we will do. If the Eidim didn't see the new moon, we might sometimes, on occasion, when we need to, we would tell them, say you did see it. But we never tell Eidim who saw the new moon and they came to relay that to us and tell them, hey, we don't want to see you, come back to us tomorrow. That we don't do. What's the logic of that? This to tell Aiden to make up a story we have no problem with, but tell Aiden that we saw something, say just don't come in, that we already consider. What's the difference? It was very simple. My time, what's the reason? The reason is very simple. Hi, everyone saw, if these two Adim saw the new moon on the 30th day, there probably a whole bunch of other people saw the new moon, and yet they don't hear Bezin declaring Rosh Chodesh, so they know the Bezin tampered with the testimony, that the minister is manipulating what's going on over here. Is Mechzik Shikr, it looks false. So therefore, if the Adim saw, there were many other Adim saw as well, we have to accept their Adims. But Haila Mechzik Shikr, people didn't see the new moon, they don't know for sure there was no new moon, they just didn't see it. So if two Adim come along to Bezin and they say we saw the new moon, everybody accepts it. It must be the truth. So therefore, that's why Bezin would, what do you call it? Cajole these people come in to say you saw something you didn't see, if it's necessary. Omar Shmuel. Now remember, Shmuel was an astrologer, and he says that he knows the stars in the sky and the zodiac just like he knows the backstreets of Nedoi. Omar Shmuel once said, I can make a calendar so that people in Golos don't have to worry, keep 2 days Yom Tov, whatever it is. I can make them a calendar to know exactly when Yom Tov should be. And you don't need any witness or anything else. So Abba said, the father of Samlai was Shmuel. So Yoda Marhai Milsa. So obviously you think that you're so well versed in the law in Kiddush HaChaydish and what's going on in the stars. So let me ask you a question. You know, tell me what the shot in this brisa. It's a very cryptic brisa. The Tanya, the brisa says the following: the Soida Iba, when it comes to the time of the making of the new month, Noilid Kaidem Chatzais, if the new moon starts appearing before noon, is different than Oinoilid Achar Chatzais, if the new moon started to form or started to appear after midday. What does that mean? Amalei Loy. I don't know the pshat in the brisa. Shmuel confessed. Amalei, so Abba said to him, you don't know this brisa. I'm sure must be many other things you don't know. So how can you go around saying you can fix up the whole Geilah? You don't really know the laws of Kiddush HaChaydish that well. So Gemara says, true, at that time they didn't know, but Kisolik Rab Zayda, when Rab Zayda went to Eretz Yisrael, Sholach Lahu, he sent. Remember, Rab Zayda had to fast 100 days to forget everything in Bavli so that he can go to Eretz Yisrael. And he didn't. He sort of wanted to hide from his Rebbe, Rabbi Yehuda, who said you shouldn't go to Eretz Yisrael. So Rab Zayda, when Rab Zayda went to Eretz Yisrael, he said, this is what he said. If the old moon was still shining at night, then we know that you cannot have seen the new moon that day, because you need 24 hours that when there's no moon at all. So if you're able to see the old moon in its orbit, the very end of its orbit, right, sometime in the night, at night, that means if anybody comes along and says, I saw the new moon that night or the next day, the following day, it's impossible. Because there's a 24-hour hiatus when nobody sees the moon. And this is what Abba said about Rabbi Shalai. This is what he said. We look at the forming of the new moon. If it's before noontime, then we'll soon see that this 24-hour period when we don't see the moon, and this basically it's 6 hours, the last 6 hours of the old moon, then the 12 hours in between, and then there's the first 6 hours of the new moon that are not visible. So if the new moon started to form before Chatzos, according to the calculations, then 6 hours later is still the same day. So it's possible for Aiden to come and say, "Oh, we saw the new moon right before Shkia," but and declare that day as Chodesh. But if according to calculation, the new moon will not begin to form until after Chatzos, then 6 hours later it is night. So that means the Adim come along and say we saw it before Shkia. Don't believe them. So he said, where are we? I just lost the place. But no, the says if the new moon started to form appear, the reflection started before Chatzai. We know we know that it's possible to start seeing it and becoming visible right before Shkia is a Chama. But if the new moon didn't start to reflect the sun before midday, you cannot see it before Shkia is a Chama. And the Ma'inaf Kamina, what is the difference? Which come in and say we saw it, we know based on these facts whether it's possible that they're just a figment of their imagination or they actually saw the new moon. Okay, so therefore now the Gemara is gonna. So basically, we're gonna talk about the people in Babel that are on the east, people in Israel that are compared to Babel are considered on the west, and we say that the moon appears on the west. The moon is certainly the new moon is on the western side and the old moon is on the eastern side. So we're going to learn now that there's a difference between the people on the west Babel and the people on the east. This is where Rashi learned. The people on the eastern edge of Israel, how they see the new moon and so on. So the Gemara explains. Now the Gemara we're going to learn now is me according to Rashi. Tomorrow night I'll tell you how the Baal HaMoyer learns the Gemara because that's the whole basis for the international dateline that everybody talks about. So he has a whole different interpretation of this Gemara. Says the Gemara, Amar Rab Zayda Rab Nachman. Rab Zayda said, name Rab Nachman. He said, Chov Dalet Shov, 24 hours, Mechase Sierra, for 24 hours between the old moon and the new moon, it's not visible to the naked eye. But it depends where you are when it no longer is naked. Whether it starts from the last 6 hours of the old moon, as we'll see, and the 12 hours, and then the 18 hours, and then the first 6 hours of the new moon, or it is that you don't see is the last 18 hours of the last 6 hours of the old moon, but you begin to see the first 18 hours of the new moon, as we'll see what we're talking about in a minute. Yeah. So the way it is, the moon is microscopic, so you cannot see the last 6 hours of its orbit or the first 6 hours of the new orbit, and then there's 12 hours in between, and those 12 hours. It depends where you live, in the east or in the west. So it's much like follows. 24 hours that the moon is hidden, concealed from us. Easily done by us. Shisma Tika, we don't see the last 6 hours of the old moon. And then we don't see the first 18 hours of the new moon. So if you live in the east, then therefore you cannot see the moon because the moon is on the west side, starts to rise on the west. So therefore but we do see almost the very end of its orbit to the very last 6 hours because the moon is on the east side, finishing its orbit. And then for the next 18 hours we don't see. Lady do, but if you're in the west, if you're in the west, which is in Israel, then the other way around. She's mechadata. Only after 6 hours of the new moon, they can already see the new moon because the moon rises starts to orbit on the west side. But the tam the last 18 hours of the old orbit, they cannot see because that's all taking place on the east side of the horizon, so they cannot really see it. Says what's the difference? Because we know that in Israel you can see the old moon after a certain time. So therefore, if the waiters come in and they tell us a story, we right away know. If they, for example, tell us that we saw the old moon, the beginning of the night, and we saw the new moon right before Shkia, and we know it's impossible because wherever you are for 24 hours, you don't see the moon. The only question is it if you're on the east side, it's the last 18 hours it's the first 18 hours of the new orbit and the last 6 hours of the old orbit. If you're on the west side, it's the first 6 hours of the new orbit and the last 18 hours of the old orbit. But definitely there's 24 hours you cannot see it. So if witnesses come along and say we saw it within 24 hours, you know they're not telling the truth. Now the question is, you said before, you're saying that you need 24 hours in between the old and the new month. How do you know that? How do you know that? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yechon says, it says the pasuk, me'erev ad erev. It says regarding Yom Kippur, it says me'erev ad erev. So we see that a full 24-hour period is a day. And Rish Lakish says ad yom ha'echad be'esim l'chodesh. Rabbi Yechon, Rish Lakish says when it comes to Pesach, it says over there that you should not, on the 14th day in the evening, should eat matzahs until the 21st day, ba'erev. So therefore, we see from here that it's considered that if, in other words, if we know that night comes first, followed by day, to be considered a 24-hour period. Because you start counting from the erev until the following erev. Or because it says by matzah ad yom ha'eser erev till the evening of the 21st, we see that's when Yom Tov ends. In other words, the day follows that. Even though the Torah says at the beginning of Bereshit, but halachically, how do you know that's how it is? Maybe that's just how.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I think we've lost him.
Yeah, it
Okay,
seems to have
Yirmi-
cut out.
Yirmi has your astrology. Let's go.
No, not my department. You maybe send him a message or something. He might not be
Yeah.
aware that he's cut out. Let me have a look if I can find it.
It's complicated, no? He's gone.
He might start.
Yeah, that's
again.
right. He'll come back. Yeah, if he's gone, it's good. He'll come back in. Yep.
I sent him a message. I don't know if he's
Yeah.
gonna-
No, he should be in. He should be in. He's
I
in.
think my internet got knocked out from the winds.
Ah.
Sorry for that, guys. Says the Gemara. Rava says no. Chatzos Laila Ika Benayu. The difference of Chatzos Laila. If you learn from Yom Kippur, then when does the new day start? From the beginning of the night, right? From Yom Kippur, Me'erev ad Erev, which is the beginning of the night. So therefore, according to that opinion, if you saw the old moon beginning of the night, there's no way you can see the new moon until the following night. But the other one learns from matzahs. When we know that the 7 days of Pesach, matzah is a reshus, except the first night till chatzos. And when we talk about it in the pasuk, you should eat matzah till the 21st. We're talking about matzahs as a reshus, as optional. When does it start that the chiv of that there's no chiv of matzah anymore, and it's only optional? It only starts from chatzos. Only starts from chatzos. So therefore, according to him, if you saw the old moon beginning of the night, and if they have to then say that they saw the new moon within, before Shkia, they can, because as long as they saw it, if they saw it before Chatzos, it's only after Chatzos if they saw the old moon, you cannot say you saw it in the same day. But if you saw it before Chatzos, midnight, you could say you saw it in the same day, right before Shkia. Sorry. Says him further. Another thing of Nachman. Whenever you don't know when the new month is, and we have to make a 2-day Yom Tov, so let's say we say the first day Rosh Chodesh, the 30th day, so you count the 15 days. The 15th day is Sukkot, let's say, and maybe the second Rosh Chodesh, so then we do the 16th day also as Sukkot, because maybe that's really the 15th day. So it's always the Kameh. You're going forward. So the Gemara, remember the Chamesa v'Shitzer Avdinon. So we make the 50-day month, 60th month of Adbeisa Avdinon. We don't make it the 40th day of the month. Says the Gemara, v'le'eved name Adbeisa. Why don't we make it the 4th day of the month? Because Dilma Chasrula of the Chasrula, maybe Av was 29 days, and maybe El was 29 days. So therefore, in fact, we're 2 days off, not 1 day off. So maybe we should contemplate that as well, and therefore have it, let's say, a 3-day, or bring it forward and say, just like it's possible that it's the 15th or 16th, maybe it's the 14th and the 15th, because maybe the 2 months, 29 days. So really, it's and it really should be the 14th day. Says the Gemara, because today Yarche Chaseda Kol Islu, that since 2 consecutive months that only have 29 days, everyone is aware of it, because it's actually 3 months. Because Tavis is always 29 days, for example, or Av is always 29 days. And if you're going to make Tavis, Shvat, and 2 months in a row of 29 days, everybody will be aware of it, way before Pesach. Even places that Shluchim Bezin don't arrive by Nisan, we already know that it was 2 months or 29 days. So therefore, we would have known about it. And because we don't know about it, means that Tavis was normal 29 and Shvat was normal 30. It's only a question about 1 month other. It's only a question about 1 month. So therefore, we entertain the possibilities and we make it, the 15th and the 16th day of the month. So tomorrow night, Mishra Mateo, the Baal says, was very important. 9:15 tomorrow night, if that's all right with everybody.
Yep.
Is that all right?